Welcome to 2026. We are very excited to be presenting about the powerful alignments that are coming up. And it's always powerful, right? Because life is a big theater and drama. We just need to understand what sequence we are in that play of life. So some of these alignments are going to really dominate the year. And our presenters here have selected what they see as the most relevant or prominent forces. But by all means, there's so much more to talk about. We know, for example, that the nodes are going to move from Virgo, Pisces to Leo, Aquarius in July. And we're going to have eclipses in Aquarius and Virgo, Pisces. But I think if we understand that the slow-moving planets are really touching some of the deepest aspect of our soul, and that's personal, and then affect culture and the collective zeitgeist. Gonca is going to speak about Uranus and Pluto. Tom is going to cover the movement of CHIRON from Aries to Taurus. And it's a very important one because Chiron stays the longest in Aries and Taurus. And of course, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction by Sharri, who, we've been under the Saturn-Neptune this whole year, but the actual conjunction is happening this February. And then Jupiter is moving from Cancer to Leo also mid-year. So Priscila is going to take us through that transition. And I'm going to touch on the more immediate, perhaps faster moving transit of the Venus star point, but it sets the tone for the year because it happens in January. And it's short, but very, very impactful. So as you notice, all the slow-moving planets are shifting signs. They've already been in transition in 2025, but in 26, Uranus moves firmly into Gemini. Neptune and Saturn move firmly into Aries. Pluto's already in Aquarius. So we're shifting all these slow-moving bodies from water, earth, to air, fire, to the extroverted energy. So a lot is on our plate. The world is constantly in motion. There's always something happening, right? But one of the virtues of astrology is to understand the intention, why it's happening. What can we do about it? How can we ride the wave successfully, holistically? One of the great uses of astrology is to not only predict, but it's to be prepared. Because the more conscious we are about what is coming, the more in alignment we can be. And I think that's why we're doing this, is to basically be in alignment with the intelligence of the universe. I think that's why we all study astrology ultimately. So we all hope you're going to get a lot out of this. You're going to have the recording to be able to revisit some of these concepts. And I'm sure we'll meet again to rediscuss some of these concepts, maybe more. So I'm going to start with introducing our first speaker, who is going to be Mr. Chiron Tom Soltron. And Tom lives in Spain, but is Polish-born sound therapist and evolutionary astrologer based in the Andalusian mountains of Spain. For 23 years, he's worked with polyphonic instruments, especially gongs, offering workshops around the world. He came to astrology initially inspired by Dane Rudyard, his musical and humanistic approach. Tom studies evolutionary astrology, inspired by Jeffrey Green, trained through Maurice Fernandez diploma program to deepen his soul-centered approach. He's available for private consultations and immersive sound journey for deep process and integration. So, Tom, are you gonna play the gong for us?
Not today, but maybe next time. Thank you, Maurice, for introduction.
Beautiful.
So,
It's all yours.
it's all mine. Thank you very much. Okay, so I hope everyone is well. Welcome, and let's dive right into it, as there is plenty to share in such a short period of time. So, in today's presentation, I will be talking about Chiron in Taurus and the upcoming transit 2026 to 2033. Chiron was discovered on November 1st, 1977 by astronomer Charles Koval. First thought to be an asteroid, later observation revealed a faint comet. Because of this dual nature, it is classified as a central object, a small icy body orbiting between outer planets. Chiron travels between Saturn and Uranus, and it takes about 50.7 years to complete one orbit. It bridges the structure reality of the Saturn and liberating vision of Uranus, the known and unknown. Chiron enters Taurus on June 19, 2026, briefly retrogrades back into Aries in November, and then enters Taurus again on April 14, 27, where it stays until June 19, 2033. So in Greek mythology, Chiron was a wise, noble centaur, unlike the wild nature of his kin. Born from Kronos and nymph Lyra, he was rejected at birth, his first wound. Raised by Apollo, Chiron learned music, medicine, prophecy, and martial art, and became a teacher of heroes such as Achilles, Asclepius, Heracles, and Jason. Chiron defining story expressed his archetype. He was accidentally wounded by one of the Hercules' poisoned arrow, a wound that would never heal. As an immortal, he could not die, so his suffering became endless. In his search for relief, he helped countless others, transforming pain into compassion. Eventually, he traded his immortality with Prometheus, who was punished for giving fire, knowledge, and technology to humanity. Their exchange showed that healing can arise when suffering is seen, shared, and transformed. After sacrifice, Zeus placed Chiron in the sky as the constellation Centaurus, symbolizing celestial healer guiding travelers through darkness. Chiron myth reveals the wounded healer, the one whose deepest wounds became a source of wisdom and service, greatest gift. In astrology, Chiron represents the bridge between human limitations and divine awareness, showing how pain can become medicine. Taurus rules the earth, the body, resources, and everything that sustains life. Ruled by Venus, it values simplicity, beauty, and tangible. Taurus energy is grounded, patient, and devoted, building structures that last. It teaches presence and trust in the body, reminding us that the real wealth is found in stillness and gratitude. Taurus heightens the senses and awakens artistic abilities connected to touch and form, music, pottery, sculpture, cooking, architecture. Its shadow includes stubbornness, attachment, and fear of change. Yet its gift is a deep resilience. Chiron and Taurus bring attention to wounds around safety, self-worth, survival, and embodiment. It raises fear about losing what we rely on, not being enough, or feeling cut off from the earth's abundance. It exposes the tension between spirit and matter, reminding us the presence matters more than possession. On a both collective and personal level, we may revisit themes of scarcity, material instability, and the search for self-sufficiency. The collective wound around our relationship to the earth may become impossible to ignore. Personally, we may face wounds around the body, food, money, land, and our sense of security. The shadow appears when security becomes possession, turning people or things into property, or becoming trapped in material desires. We may compare ourselves to unrealistic standards. Scarcity fears can show up in over-controlling, emotional eating, or difficulty accepting our body. In the arts, expression may become fast, disposable, and disconnected from the senses, chasing perfection instead of presence. Yet the same wound opens the way back to touch, texture, natural materials, and slow embodied creativity, where authenticity and handmade beauty can return. At its highest, Chiron in Taurus heals through reconnection with the earth and the wisdom of our bodies, learning that the body itself is a temple of spirit. So let's briefly look at some past cycles. 1976, 1983. We had an oil crisis, scarcity, inflation, global instability, rise of neoliberal economics. Thatcher and Reagan reshaped labor and value system. A major shift in control of oil and resources with the Iranian Revolution. Polish solidarity movement, protest over food shortages and repression. We had also first GMO created, altering the life form, echoes Taurus themes of body and the earth. Cycle back, 1926, 1934. We had Wall Street crash leading to global economic instability. That led to Great Depression, mass unemployment, hunger, financial collapse. We had Holodomor, forced collectivization and famine in Ukraine. Some sources say around 5 million people die of starvation. Rise of Nazism, extremism born from poverty and despair. Global trade collapse, increase in food prices, deepen poverty. And we saw also early social security system emerge as collective response to this hardship. So every 50 years, Chiron and Taurus force humanity to confront foundational question: how do we create stability? nourishment, and dignity. Each period awakens the need to re-evaluate what true security means and how it must be grounded in shared, sustainable values. Chiron entered Taurus just before the lunar nodes shift into Leo Aquarius axis in 2026. The nodes represent evolutionary polarities for about 18.5 months. South node in Leo exposes outdated hierarchies, ego-driven leadership, and elitism. North node in Aquarius pushes toward collaboration, shared ideals, community innovation, technological progress, and new system that prioritize equality. This axis often brings dramatic question of authority, collective experiments, and shifts in political and technological structure. So let's look at some major imbalances in our world, what we may call Promethean or Aquarian imbalances. These are the places where progress has raced ahead of humanity, our body and the earth. We treat technology like answer to everything. Geoengineering instead of healing ecosystem. Surveillance is sold as efficiency. Smart city replacing real living community. Control begins to replace connection. More and more life happen on the screen instead of real space. Touch become rare, body grows still, stressed, and disconnected. We are present everywhere except in our body. Nature, including humans, is treated as something to reprogram or redesign, rather than living system we belong to. AI develops faster than our emotional maturity or social system. Millions of jobs are at risk, and information grows faster than understanding. The body becomes a problem instead of teacher. We chase immortality instead of meaning. We act as if limits do not exist, productivity over rest, endless growth over balance. And Taurus reminds us that the limits are intelligent, and Prometheus resists them. Aquarius represents advance of civilization, but its shadows is lack of integration. Communities replaced by networks, not relationship, high mobility and ruthlessness, families spread across continent, declining shared rituals, loss of fertility due to disconnection from organic processing, and loneliness become a global epidemic. We are not suddenly going to drop technology and move back to the farm. It is about using technology on Earth's terms. Chiron and Taurus make us face just reality. When supply chain breaks, food become unstable or expensive, body burns out, resources run thin, we are forced to ask a Taurus question: what is real? What is essential? And what truly sustains a life? So how can we align with the healing of Chiron and Taurus? To understand Taurus, we also need to look at the opposite sign, Scorpio. Taurus brings us back to the body and the earth. Scorpio asks us to face our shadow, deeper fears, losses, limitation, and strong emotions. Healing comes from working with both. Taurus is physical. Healing begins with feeling, not thinking. We can practice conscious breath, gentle body movement, prioritizing rest, eating slowly with awareness. This transit also highlights fears around money, resources, and being enough. Notice when fear makes your decision. question old system about success and money. Do one thing at a time. Reduce digital noise. Choose slower, fewer, and deeper commitments. Make a small garden or care for a plant. Choose local organic food when possible. Notice season, cycles, weather, and light. This restores a sense of belonging. We can learn practical skills like cooking, mending, growing, budgeting, investing in a health over status. Shared resources and time. Prioritize face-to-face contact. Build long-term trustworthy bonds, because scarcity often softens through community. Use hands-on creativity, painting, sculpting, playing instruments, to return imagination to the senses and the physical world. Make art that feels. So in upcoming cycle, we may expect growth in holistic natural healing, local food system, regenerative farming, simplicity, and slow living, not as a trend, but as a necessity. We may move towards new economic models, shared community-based resource system, land, water, and food become true value. Innovation shifts direction. We may use AI for ecology and restoration, biotechnology for soil, food, and health. Progress becomes more rooted than not extracted. Art becomes sensory, handmade, and grounded in the physical experience. We may see backlash against artificiality and AI-generated work, creative responses to ecological crisis, reclaim materials, ancestral crafts, and art that question value, ownership, consumption, or greed. The Chiron myth teaches Prometheus' progress can only be freed when Chiron, the wounded body, is acknowledged. And I brought two examples into this presentation. People with Chiron and Taurus. First is Fidel Castro, born August 13, 1926. He grew up witnessing huge contrast between wealth and the poverty of farm workers. Even as a child, he reacted strongly to injustice, threatening to organize workers' strike at age 12. As a leader, Castro centered his entire revolution on Taurus themes: land redistribution, food security, control of national resources, and eliminating private ownership. His response to the Taurus wound was not personal healing, but collective restructuring, an attempt to turn scarcity into shared security. However, the shadow emerged when Taurus' needs for stability fused with Scorpio control, generating strict state ownership, rationing, censorship, and survival anxiety for the Cuban people. So Castro embodied the double edge of Chiron and Taurus, trying to heal inequality through resource redistribution, but creating new wounds through deprivation and rigid control. His life reflects the core Chiron and Taurus lesson. True security cannot be created through control, only through grounded, embodied care. And the second example is Norma Mera Svensson, a woman's health activist born February 2nd, 1932, embodied the healing journey of Taurus through her lifelong work on women's health and physical autonomy. Her awakening began during childbirth, when she discovered that women were constantly dragged into twilight sleep without informed consent. witnessing women hallucinate and lose control over the birth revealed the Scorpio shadow, secrecy and authority controlling the body. Norma respond with Taurus medicine, bringing the true into the light, grounding health in sensory knowledge and returning power into physical body. Her book, Our Body, Ourself, demystified menstruation, birth, contraception, pleasure, and aging, transforming silence into transparency, fear into empowerment, and isolation into shared wisdom. She replaced also abstraction with practical, embodied understanding, honoring the body as a sacred and intelligent. Norma legacy expressed Chiron and Taurus at its highest. Healing comes through reclaiming the body, restoring self-worth, and transforming oppression into empowerment through true and lived experience. With the Chiron returning to Taurus, his myth become alive again. His sacrifice reflects what we have been doing, sacrificing the earth and the body for the progress. This period may force us to face what has been damaged. Our planet, body, ecosystem, food system, natural resources. Healing begins in the physical world and the system that sustains life. And true wealth comes from relationship, not accumulation, from connection, simplicity, gratitude, and care. And Chiron reminds us that the wound is in the body and the gift is there too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. It is both inspiring and daunting, but this also shows how powerful Chiron is in these charts. It's incredible how astrologers of all the bodies have really tuned into Chiron and seen how this small body is so relevant and it is so influential, both on personal and global level. So never,
Absolutely.
ever underestimate Chiron
Absolutely.
because it's a force to be reckoned with. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Maurice.
And so with Chiron, we're now revisiting Saturn and Neptune in Aries. And Sharri is an evolutionary astrologer, certified herbalist, holistic wellness coach, and photographer based in St. Paul, Minnesota. She bridges cosmic insight with grounded healing, giving individuals, family deeper understanding and transformation. She specializes in helping parents understand their child's birth charts and family. So that's a great service, for anyone who's raising children to use the chart to better understand who that soul is. Not just an extension of us. They come here with their own purpose. So her approach supports conscious parenting, healing ancestral patterns, and fostering harmony within the home. Through astrology, herbal wisdom, Sharri empowers others to navigate life with compassion, clarity, and deeper connection to purpose and self. Welcome, Sharri.
Thank you. And thank you, Tom, for that presentation. I'm going to share my screen here. All right. So I feel very honored to be sharing about this conjunction. We've been in the energy of it since last year, getting a little taste where it almost came exact conjunct within 4 minutes of arc, but it's so monumental to me because Saturn takes 28 years to go around and Neptune 164 years, and to have them meet up in the sky, which typically happens around every 36 years, but to be at 0 degrees Aries, which is the very first sign of the zodiac, that world point, that the reality reset, it's amazing, and we're alive for it, and we're a part of this seeding cycle. Saturn represents the reality, and Neptune the dream or the spiritual, the oneness, the what's beyond, the reimagining. So
Just a
literally,
moment, Sharri.
mm-hmm.
Maybe you can come a little closer to the mic because you're a little distant in the sound.
Is this
So
better?
try.
Can you hear me now?
I think a little better. Just make sure you articulate and speak up.
Okay, will do. So we'll move into this a little bit. So Saturn representing the crystallization of reality and maturation and responsibility, and it withstands the test of time, and it represents ancestors and wisdom and boundaries and being in alignment, and when we're out of alignment can teeter towards, shame, guilt, or fears and the burdens that we carry, and it's where we have to put effort in, and where we put effort in is where we become masterful. And it also represents our karmic contracts and Father Time, the timekeeper, incarnated into matter. So we have that archetype meeting up with Neptune in the sky, which is the dream, the collective, our intuition, the divine chaos, the part of us that's innocent or naive. It's our relationship to life. It's beyond our control. It's the limitless. It's spirit. It's unification. It dissolves and it brings together that oneness and compassion, forgiveness, surrender, and that all-encompassing agape love. So we have these two planets, the reality and the dream, meeting up, looking through the lens of Aries, or wearing the outfit of this warrior archetype, this Aries energy, which activates, it defends, it protects. It's a very creative energy. It's the vital force of life. It'll forge a new path. It's pioneering, headstrong, instinctual, and it cuts cords. It knows what it wants. It can be competitive. It claims the right to live, to be here, and it's self-reliant, and it takes action and courage, and it's extremely authentic in its expression. Not a lot of thinking, just a lot of instinctual response in that way. So we're at this really amazing point. And the last time Saturn and Neptune met was in 1989. One example is the fall of the Berlin Wall. So literally the wall, Saturn, dissolved Neptune, and it created a new border, and it created a new feeling, and it created a new internal way of identity as well. So it brings form to the formless and vice versa. So Saturn in Aries will officially go in February 13th until April 28th of 2028. So we have a couple years with this energy. And it's the energy of responsibility and encouragement to mature in who we are. Like, how are we managing our personal energy, taking responsibility for ourselves? What's our long-term creative goals and passions, and how can we stay the course? Really working on our inner authority and our guidance and our direction and our leadership skills, and taking calculated action on what do we want to protect, what is in our circle of trust. And wherever there's Saturn, there's a test, like a testing, and it takes time and patience and determination. And it's also, Aries relates to sexuality, so we have responsible sexual vitality and ethical embodiment of desire. And in relation to our health, it relates to blood, bloodline, head, eyes, skull. So being mindful of all those energies. And also with Saturn and Aries, we have this energy of, is it the hero or the bully? And it can be construed, or one can think they're doing the right thing, and because it's a really strong energy, the hero in the story, or am I domineering and pushing my agenda on somebody else? So it can get tricky like that. So some of the shadows and risks, there's a need to control and master our impulses, and thus the self-critic can be really high as well, because Saturn wants to do things right or be in alignment, so it can be hard on itself. There can be creative blocks as far as our expression. There could be too much work and adrenal burnout, bullish energy, impatience, frustration, Even persecution or abuse of power are all potentials and fanatical leadership. It could be rigid independence, like I don't need anybody, you know, I'm good on my own. Could be suppressed anger and not allowing your instincts to come through. And it could be authority struggles. And the previously Saturn was in Aries in 1996 to 1998. But it's really, I feel like, about aiming our arrow, and doing the day-to-day work to reach our goals, to be able to express ourselves and really align with our truth and what lights us up. So the key word for this is honoring ourselves, no matter what happens. So in the past, I was working with these archetypes, and my husband got in a car accident, and it was then the next day my son started walking, and I had another toddler at home. And so I was single parenting for 4 months, worrying about my husband's life a little bit as he was recovering. And so I had to be strong. Like, I had to grow thick skin. I had to take care of business. Like, so that's one way that this energy can show up, is like, how are you in a crisis? How do you show up in a crisis and take responsibility and show yourself what you're made of? And another way that's not so intense is like, I'm going to practice for a marathon. I'm going to run every day, or I'm going to train to make sure that I'm the best that I can be, and I'm going to work hard and stick to it. And also, if you're making a music album, you know, you stay the course day to day. I have this karate person here, and like taking the time to hone in on their skills and the meditation, the craftsmanship and the art of it, and practicing and staying the course and honoring yourself, whatever it is that you care about, that lights you up, that involves some kind of creativity, to honor that part. And no matter what happens in life, how do you show up authentically and strongly and in alignment? So Neptune in Aries, January 26th to 2038, so it'll be in there for a while. And to me, this is divine action. It's our place in relationship to the whole. It reminds me of the peaceful warrior, the spiritual pioneer. It's our collective action and spiritual guidance and higher self activations, divine self-expression and creativity, and leadership and taking action and protecting what we are in service to. Like, what do we care about? What is in our circle of trust? What is part of our identity that we want to protect? And some of the shadows and risks are boundaries can either be too strong or too loose. There could be a loss of self or a loss of innocence, martyrdom, illusions of heroism or victimization, you know, feeling like overwhelmed by the world, escapist or reckless with energy because we don't have enough boundary in there, disillusionment with personal power. There could be war, changes in leadership, boundaries, and really, defenselessness and how to protect ourselves. And the previously, when Neptune was in Aries, was in 1862 during the American Civil War. And because Neptune is with Saturn in Aries at this critical point, it's like, it reminds me, you know, if Neptune, you consider the womb, and Aries being the birth of something new, it's like the cutting of the cord. Like we're in a new phase, a new world. We're coming out of a certain cocoon. And there's this man here in this picture. He's a warrior sitting by the water and praying. It's like and connecting to a higher source, higher self. And it's like this, we can't do it all. So coming in and connecting with that higher power. And it's also an extremely creative archetype together, Neptune and Aries. How can we create and tap into those liminal spaces? So one example in my life where I was working with these archetypes as well is, it was springtime, and we cracked our window open at night around our house just because the breeze felt so good. It feels good to get that fresh air in. And it was around a Scorpio full moon. I should have known, but our house got broken into. And while our kids were sleeping, and it was a very scary moment. But what did we learn? We can't be so naive and so trusting. It's not like our windows were way open. They were cracked a little bit with the stoppers, but somebody still got in. So what did we do? You know, we learned from that. We built our immunity not to be so trusting or naive, and saged our house, and, you know, made sure to lock our windows more, and did different protections around that we needed to do. So that's one example of just how that energy can show up. Another way is tapping into our higher self in service, like really listening in to spirit and taking the time to be with spirit, so you know what lights you up, how do you want to be of service. So for me, it's astrology. I love astrology. I love helping people orient themselves. I love plants. I love medicine. I love the earth. I like making concoctions, teaching people how to do it. So that's how I'm in service, and I get to express that creativity within me. And so this energy encourages all of us to tap into that place and follow that thread that lights us up, and that can fuel our fire. So both of these together, Saturn, Neptune in Aries, is acting from divine alignment. We're creating a new world. This is a seeding cycle, the seed of the seed of the seed of a new reality as we know it at 0 degrees Aries. So what are we imagining? We've been imagining since what do you call it? Neptune was in Pisces since 2012, and last couple years Saturn in Pisces. So we're in this dream state. Like, what are we dreaming? And now it's time to take action with that dream and take actionable steps. And we're in this place in life where there's a technological renaissance in the earth and blending. And what do we give our attention to? How do we synthesize worlds and the AI and the technology and what's real and what's not? And what do we want to give our attention to and weight to? The world that we want to create and how we want to raise our kids, and just everything. This new dream that we're creating, we're at the 0 point, the reset point. And the only way to know and to have that discernment is to go within ourselves, go within our hearts, to listen, do those daily rituals, and attune ourselves to hear spirit, to hear our higher self, so we can be of service and show up in the world the way that actually lights us up, the way we're designed. Understanding our astrology charts, or through meditation, or whatever mode it is, you can understand yourself the best. So figure out what puzzle piece you want to be and be of service. And what do we want to protect? What are we protecting with this Aries energy? What is part of our value system? Yeah. So there's that energy. And also with Neptune there, we're sailing the open seas too. Nobody knows what's going to happen. We're kind of going with the flow and improvisationally, continuously attuning. And it's a new day and age, a new time. So how are we going to work with that is by building up our personal power and our personal inventory of who we are, and being sure with that and knowing ourselves and shining that light, or opening our flower to the world, so different people can cross-pollinate, and we can grow together. So we're cracking open a new world. We're playing by a new set of games. It's the human and the universal laws. That's when I think of Saturn as the human laws and Neptune as the universal laws. And they're at a reset point. So things are shifting shape, and it's a whole new world energy. And my prayer, my vision is like each of us attuned to our own rhythm, our own vibration, and all play our own instruments together and make music and make harmony and celebrate our differences. All acting from our own chord of divine alignment. So some of the shadows and risks of this time are feelings of helplessness, pressure, loss of control, anger, injustices, carrying the weight of the world. It feels so heavy, the war, the violence, challenges, these new territories or domineering leaders. So what happens? I feel like these, when I feel into these archetypes, I think of the compassionate leaders, Gandhi and Martin Luther King, who did nonviolent protests, nonviolent activism, and what's in alignment, and what do we believe in, and what's the long-term goal, Saturn. And also Robin Hood here, which brings the ethical issue with the Saturn of, I'm going to steal from the rich and give to the poor. I'm going to give back to the people, and this is the compassionate right thing to do. So we have all these stories to be inspired by with these archetypes. Another way that I really felt into this energy is unburdening ourselves. There's this podcast here, I left a little QR code called The Emerald, and it was really fascinating. It hit home in a new way, because Saturn is the burdens that we carry. We have these ancestors, our higher self, our guides, all these different spiritual entities that are there to support us on our path. So at the end of the day, like, coming, and that serenity prayer. What is beyond our control, offer up to spirit, and we're not alone in this. So, yeah, there's that. So, moving from individualistic to multi-relational society. That's how I feel this is kind of moving. We're not meant to be parents alone and to live in our separate houses. We're meant to be in community and be together and be in this reciprocity of life. So the reality as we know it is shifting. This is a great seeding cycle that's happening. And how are we going to nourish the seed? How are we going to water it with our dreams, with our alignment, with our personal offering? And it's a process and it takes time. And I'm calling in, so there's a sense of protection here around what's in alignment and what's in your circle of trust, and also presence with that Neptune there. Like, how can we accept what is and do our best to stay in alignment no matter what? And when I look to the ruler of Mars and Aquarius, it's the instinct to act on behalf of the collective, to detach, to gain a little bit of perspective. And the technological advancements, not only in the technical world, but in our DNA and our bodies. Like, how can we advance and up level through the different meditation practices or embodiment practices? And we're seeding the new dream together as a collective. And looking to the North Node at the time of the conjunction, we have the Sun, Pallas Athena, and Venus here, all in Pisces. Gratitude, unburdening to a higher power, like connection to something greater than ourselves, accepting the gift of life, feeling into that reciprocity and learning from nature. Nothing's ever wasted in nature. There's a give and a take and an in and an out breath, and the quality of our relationship. So no matter what we have in life, like coming back to that place of gratitude and trust, and following our hearts, following our passion, following what brings us satisfaction, however that looks. And we're rebuilding the world together. So discipline is the refining fire by which talent becomes ability. Saturn, discipline, and dreams become real the moment discipline becomes devotion. So like being disciplined in what we love and what lights us up in that creative fire, so we can be that puzzle piece and we can exchange different codes with people and inspire them and teach, or, by bringing that radical creativity and devotion to what we love. So considering astrology holistically, we have Pluto in Aquarius, Uranus in Gemini, and as Maurice was saying, things are moving from earth to water to fire to air. Things are quickening. So as we see this new cycle and we have disclosure and all these things happening in this new world, considering the bigger picture of this upgrade that's happening and this quickening, and where attention goes, energy flows, and where are we putting our attention and how are we metabolizing all this information and the speed, and again, that encouragement to continue to stay in alignment. So you never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the old model obsolete. So what are we building? What do we want to create? What do we want to focus on? So a couple of tips for navigating is spiritual hygiene, attuning to ourselves daily, like paving a new path guided by our higher self and spirit. So we need to create a quiet time. We need to help us remember, and one way to do that is through sound or music. To, like, as you can see here, the sound creates certain patterns and frequencies, and praying with the water or intention with the water, because we are water, it makes a different frequency. And aligning with the seasons and the cosmic clock and personal rhythm, and really clarifying our prayer as the reference point, Saturn, for life. If it's not part of the prayer, then like come back to it. Like what is your mission in life? What is in your heart? And this is also a time to create, take action, whatever it is, however your creativity looks like, and protect and redefine what you identify with. Like, is it just you? Is it just your family? Is it just your community? Is it the earth? Like what is part of your identity? And adaptability and strength and principles to devotion, and taking radical self-responsibility and trusting the process, no matter what comes your way, trusting your ability to navigate the seas. So between stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space is the power to choose, and in our response lies our growth and our freedom. So love this quote as a opportunity when there's a lot of stimulus going on with the Aries and the quickening to really respond and take the time, create that space, and responsibility is our ability to respond. So, giving us that sacred pause. So thank you guys so much. I'm happy to offer astrology readings or educational workshops, group cleanses, herbal consultations. So thank you for your time, and I hope you all, have a beautiful year ahead.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sharri. And I wonder, we can take some questions. If some people have questions for Tom or for Sharri, either post it now or we can address some questions later on as well. I have a question for you, Sharri. You mentioned Saturn, Neptune, this kind of reset, and speaking about community, and yet Aries is individualistic. How do you see this? Is it going solo? Is it doing your own thing? Or where is the community coming in?
Yeah, so, well, the ruler of Aries, you look to Mars, and Mars was in Aquarius. So that's kind of how I see it. And it is this juxtaposition, because Aries is, this is what I want, I need, I feel. It's that primal instinct. And I feel like, but part of knowing yourself well and knowing your limits and your boundaries and what you like and you don't like can allow us to show up better in community, and and because we have the Neptune with Saturn there, it feels more expansive and relational than just us. It feels bigger than us.
Yeah, got it. I mean, it was the inception chart that you referred to. I can see that now. Great. Beautiful. So our next exploration in space with Gonca, who is also an evolutionary astrologer, imagine that, a soul transformation designer dedicated to guiding individuals aligned with their highest potential. With a background in psychology and over a decade of experience in yoga, meditation, inner transformation, she weaves together the ancient wisdom of the stars and the living intelligence of Gaia. One of the few practitioners of this lineage in Turkey, Gonca has been involved in conservation, shamanism, and particularly through the spiritual cosmology of the white lions and the meaning of sacred leadership. She's an international public speaker, astrology teacher, and available for private consultation. Her approach is empowering, liberating, and reconnects us with the divine essence of love. Take us there now. And
thank you so much, Maurice. I will try my best.
yeah, Gonca, I've met Gonca through both these channels, through the astrology studies and through the White Lions, because I was also involved in conservation. So it's wonderful to see that fusion. It seems unrelated, but it's actually very related if you think about the fact that there are so many animals in our astrology symbolism. Mike is yours.
Thank you. It's my honor, and I feel so lucky to be in journey, both of it, astrology and White Lions, with you. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, welcome, and you're already enjoying yourself, and you're expecting me to talk on Pluto, but unfortunately, it's about Uranus, because Uranus is unexpected shifts and changes and everything else. Also, of course, we are talking about Pluto going into Aquarius, and it changed. Can you all see? Yeah, okay. Let's see. it's about when when she ingressed to Aquarius.
Just one
It's
moment,
really
Gonca.
okay.
We see a lot of black boxes in the bottom and the top left. I don't know if you can remove them. Yeah. The bottom one is still there.
It's going.
There's a bottom bar. All right, that's a little better.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
great. So, as evolutionary astrologers, of course, we respect Pluto a little more. We respect all the planets for sure, but she is the matriarch and she serves our way and really sets the theme for our evolution in cosmically. So when it's in Aquarius, we need to look Uranus a closer with closer eyes. So now it's ingresses in Gemini, and as I see Uranus, and I'm working on trauma works for so long, so it's stored traumas, it's our consciousness, it's how we respect and react our nervous system in communication with Earth, in communication with the beautiful surrounding of ourselves and with the change. And when I see the ingress chart, it's done for Ankara, Turkey, and Uranus is conjuncting Venus, and Moon is 29 Leo. So, and Aquarius polarity point is Leo. So all the signs are we need to go and dive into our hard drive. Yes, Uranus is technology, and our web connection, all these AI things. But if it's connected with our heart, and we now know, the science now knows that our heart has neurons, and it can really go into our decision making, and it can affect our nervous system with our magnetism and everything else. So yes, we can use hard drives and our computers and phones, but we need to tune in our hard drive to be really connected with the universe and with all the changes around us. So as Uranus and Aquarius and Leo polarity, we can see that during that Gemini transits, it can stir our mind and start our acceleration. But if our heart is the leader of ourselves, is the leader of the path to communicate, to really get into each other's love field and create together. So this is where we will create a humanity hard drive together, and collectively create a new narrative, maybe a new life, new understanding, new teams together. It's and together with the Gaia, together with the interconnectedness, together with the love we have for the universe. So before that, we can ask, who is Uranus? And he's, of course, revolution, awakening, mind change, and everything else. But in this presentation, I want to figure out how it connects our nervous system, our understanding, and how heart can lead all the way through it. And if we look at the mythology of Uranus, Saturn gets angry to his dad, maybe because little bit because of his mother, and cuts his testicles and throw it to the sea, to the ocean, and Venus borns from there. And it's like Uranus's chaos and so much activation and all the creative potential, and Saturn, us being earthlings, structure boundaries, our bodily boundaries, it creates balance and new consciousness with our values, with birthing new values, interconnected, and through love, through communication, through understanding it in a better way. And second archetype for Uranus can be Prometheus, and he is punished because he brought fire to humankind. So the gods got so angry. It's still patriarchy gets so angry when we find our fire, find our shining point, find our own love, and decide, be our own leader and decide for ourselves. Being creative is something that patriarchy really scares of, because we won't be obeying after all. So the Prometheus really representing the Uranus, but bringing the fire, Leo, the motivation, the heart, the love and the creative ability of humankind in a way. So it will be kind of, it is kind of leading the way to our heart. So with Uranus in Gemini, we can awaken our creative abilities and break the old obedience and create new realities. Not exactly, it's not always through activism, but as Sharri beautifully shared, it's sometimes spiritual activism, sometimes being in love and being encouraged to be ourselves and to decide our path, to create new narratives, and courage to speak, for sure, with Uranus in Gemini, and activate with an activated heart. And the next question we can ask is, who is Gemini? Gemini is, of course, our closer surroundings, siblings, communication, but it's not just communication through words, but it's also communication through our heart field, through our magnetism, through what we stand for, and everything else. So, and as a Turkish citizen, it always reminds me the Göbekli Tepe, as Göbekli Tepe rewrote the history, because, you know, 9,600 years ago, they were thinking humans were just hunter-gatherers, but now we know that the rituals, the belief system, the community came before civilization and opened a new path for us. Now the Uranus Gemini can change all the narrative we have, and it's so really spectacular for me to see that twin stones in the middle of 12 stones. There are twin stones which represents, if you want to be a leader of this community, if you want to be king, let's say, you need to face with your twin. It's like Inanna and Ereshkigal. It's like Castor and Pollux, and we all have dark sides and light sides, because our soul wants to live through every possibility through all of the lifetimes. And yes, we have good karma and bad karma. We have dark sides and light sides. We have war and we have peace. This is the place of duality, and our beautiful Earth just spins and orbits with that duality and creating a livable habitat for us. So with this knowledge, and with really facing with our twin, really facing with our, let's say, dark side, but we always party in the dark, right? It shouldn't be like down and sad and deep, but sometimes playful, creative, and just acceptance, and to know we have so much variety, human being as species, different emotions and different reactions. Everything is so much, and accepting this, yes, I can be in every part of the place, and they can be, they can fulfill themselves, or they can really show themselves in different states, and accepting all the different states will activate our heart drive again. I will just go through a little bit for Uranus in Taurus, what we learned. And he's still in Taurus right now, and we saw so many economic shakes, so many currency shakes. In Turkey, we had a huge and devastating earthquake, and there are so many natural disasters around the world, and these all are making us feel a little bit less safe. So when we do not feel safe, when we do not feel worthy, when we feel like Earth is going under our feet, we are going to survival mode, and it creates energy like, I need to have more, I need to stick to my land, I need to have more land, I need to do more, I need to look beautiful, I need to uh, do material things more to be powerful and to be in control. So, and also there was some beautiful things about rise of nature, but it's it can be a long talk for another presentation. And sure, with this changes and with this understanding of nothing remains stable, it's shaking our trust to Mother Earth. But what Uranus in Taurus asks us to really ground ourselves, to really believe our we are part of God. We are loving children, beloved children of Mother Gaia, and we are always safe. And when we find that safety, it will be our ground for this Uranus times. Because when I look back in 1940s, exactly 1941 to 48, Uranus was in Gemini, and what we see was war, the Second World War, and that is, you know, in Uranus in Taurus, the things are shaking in ourselves to have more, be more control, and do more, like to have more control. After all, what can you do? You will start a war. And it's also coming with economic pressure. It's also coming with more fear and more control of the patriarch, of the system. And there were more propagandas. They were using radio systems for that. They were information battlefield. And now I don't know, I'm not sure, but I don't think there will be a world war, but there are so many wars around the world, and it's also making us not to trust and not feeling safe and not go with the flow kind of thing. So today, what we can expect is also information battlefields, also supply chain disruptions, food, energy insecurity, inflation, and so many fearful things can happen. But also there will be mental breakthroughs. There will be educational change after World War II. All the education systems in Turkey, in US, build education change, and universities came, new titles came to placement and knowledge, and new communication skills we need to let into, and we need to support the youth to lead the way, because they understand the AI, they have that hard drive more polished than others, and they will demand for freedom, they will demand for a better word to express themselves as they are, and their talents, and not structural things, but they want to be curious, as Gemini will suggest, and they will go afterwards. And second thing, it's so interesting for me, and I'm again coming from Uranus in Taurus. If we lose our self-worth, if we really don't believe that we are beautiful in every way we are, and we are loved in every way we are, we will go to beauty industry. And the patriarchal system really wants us, don't look toward, look to your lips. Don't look to us, look to your weight. Don't speak about what's happening and the systems. No, just go on and be your thing. And after the World War time, the Hollywood movies were the only relaxation point, maybe, and they were really pressing a new beauty understanding and new body shape, body awareness, and coming out of body acceptance. And it's again a risk because, and it's so interesting to see this, all these big brands were founded at that time, and they are still living through, they are still big brands. And now we are so lucky that we have cosmetics good for our body, good for our earth. And this time the scrolling, the weight thing, again, a pressure is coming back with our body awareness to really take our attention to outside. Now it's, as women, I think we have more chance to stick with our interconnectedness with the Gaia and make different choices which will change the narrative of future about body acceptance and about consumption of things, because woman is really prone to consumption with the system. And yes, we are coming through mental revolution and our nervous system awakening, using our heart for that. We are going to mind from body, and if we are not grounded again, and if we are not in our heart area, in our heart space, and in our self-worth, in a mind, after Uranus ingress to Gemini, it will really stir our minds, stir our long-term memories, how we define things, what we define things, and how can we resolve from our body. So somatic works will work for everyone, I guess, releasing the tension from our body, because our body holds memories, our nervous system holds memories. This is why I guess the Uranus is long-term memory and the nervous system at the same time. So if we are not we are, as humans, I don't believe that we are bodies of wounded things, and we need to fix, heal the trauma, heal our psychology, heal this, heal that. But more like, if we are tuned it in our nervous system and feeling grounded and releasing from our nervous system consciously, then eventually we will have the joy, we will have the play, childlike curiosity, and grow with it. So it will lead to rewiring the collective awareness and everything in between. So what we expect during Uranus in Gemini, of course, massive AI, groundbreaking technologies, and it's already here, but it will grow fast. But I'm always thinking that AI, we can use it as artificial intelligence and mystic intelligence. It shouldn't be so artificial. It can be awakening intelligence. So what we are choosing consciously, what we are giving our energy consciously, what we are opening heart to. And of course, I cannot imagine a life without technology, our phones, our AI, our Google. But now we can really recreate all the AI information with interconnectedness, with the nature, with the with our hearts. Basically, Gemini becomes the messenger, Aquarius becomes the network, Uranus becomes the voltage, and the heart becomes the leader. I hope this is my dream. And the interconnectedness, the best teacher is the nature, and we can learn from nature how we can connect. And you can ask, what are the elephants or the lions or the bees do with astrology? But everything is connected. Universe is woven field, and they are all speaking to each other. So we do. So we affect with our, even with our magnetism, to our surrounding, and add so much things. For example, if elephant disappears, forests stop regenerating, carbon cycles collapse, and the climate crisis will accelerate, entire habitat will die. And what happens if lions disappeared? It's more like savannas collapse, the herbivore population explodes, soil erosion begins, and food chains fails. So we are all connected to each other. So in this, and mostly the second half of 2026 will be full of fire and air. And we can, if we can tune in our heart drive, if we can tune in our love, courage, creativity, and joy, playfulness, inner child in it, it will be a new life. It will be a new narrative for sure. And these are the, we are moving from survival based intelligence to heart centered interconnected intelligence. And these are the examples that we see in the nature, and there are millions more, just few of them. And this is the future I dream of. I will say we become a collective nervous system capable of transmitting truth, courage, and creativity in real time. This is the heart drive era, I will say. And I will add some questions for you to think and for you to contemplate before Uranus really ingress into Gemini. And what fire do you bring to humanity, like Prometheus? And what's your beauty, and how is your beauty standards, and what do you think about this emerging new frequencies and how you will adapt to that? So thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much, Maurice, as my professional readings is mostly about seeing the traumas in nervous system, how we can bring the light to it, how we can be in our highest potential. And you can always, I'm always honored to work with you.
Thank you so much. And we have to learn with Uranus in Gemini how to make these beautiful graphics.
It's if he's here, Selahattin helped me a lot. I couldn't do it myself. So community work, so much help. And I'm really thankful for him.
Yeah,
for his
beautiful.
help.
You can send their information for those who need graphic design help. I saw
Yes.
one question for you earlier on. Diana was asking, did you refer to Pluto with she is the matriarch?
Yes.
What
Yes,
do you
I
mean by
see
that?
Pluto as a woman archetype, and you know the Taurus Scorpio axis is a yin axis. So even it's Hades, it's man and male, because they taught us creator is the male. And now we think creator is feminine. We think goddesses are good. So I see Pluto as a grandmother, as a matriarch, as showing us the way.
A sexy matriarch.
I'm not sure. Probably a grandma. in my
Thank you.
imagination.
Thank you, Gonca. And for those presenter who are also speaking, English is a foreign language, is a second or third language to them, kudos for your effort to convey this very complex concept in English and cross the divide of language. So
I hope yeah, I hope everyone did understand me.
we understood, and we also have the slides, so that also helps to understand the whole thing. And so both Tom and you, thank you. And Priscila, who is Argentinian and American, so she's also bringing international flavors to our presentation. Priscila Podesta, LMFT, a licensed psychotherapist, astrology coach, intuitive guide for over 15 years of experience, supporting others in healing, self-discovery, personal empowerment. With 6 years of astrology studies, she blends depth psychology, internal family systems, and astrology to help clients thrive through thick and thin. Priscila provides a safe place for LGBTQ plus clients and those who seek alternatives to traditional mental health wellness. Her work invites clients to reclaim confidence, free their true spirit, and align with the highest of their intentions. So you can find her on more information on her website, priscilapodesta.com. And you are taking us on the Jupiter journey. So,
Yes.
Mike is yours.
Awesome. 1 second. Okay. And you can hear me okay?
Yes, very good.
Perfect. Okay. All right. I am going to bring us through the Jupiter shift from emotional wisdom to creative expression. Now, many of you know that Jupiter has been in the sign of Cancer since June 9th, and that's when it entered in 2025. It's moving back into Leo June 30th. Back into Leo. It's moving into Leo June 30th, 2026. So this Jupiter has a 12-year cycle, as many of you know, and it spends about a year in each sign. And so it's helpful to note that Jupiter expands areas of faith, higher learning, spirituality, philosophy, foreign travel, and free will. So pay attention to the parts of your life that are shifting in these areas. I recently had a friend reach out and say, I'm a Leo sun and Cancer rising, and what do you think it might happen for me or whatever? And I was like, oh, well, it seems like you have themes of personal identity and money and resources coming up for you. And she said, because it would, rising would be the first and second houses. She said, yes, I'm sorting all that out and I'm traveling solo for the first time. And all of this stuff is coming up for me. So it's interesting how those themes kind of interlock together. And so we'll kind of review the different themes and also the impact of water to fire, because this will also draw that in, as the other presenters have said. And we'll go through a little bit of the houses and some examples. So Jupiter in Cancer is, expanding in a supportive flow. And it is the Cancer themes to start with. It's water, sensitive, perceptive, profound. Cardinal goes through many identity and life transitions, and it's ever evolving. These are the people that don't mind starting their lives again and showing up differently in life at different phases. There's emotional memory and motivation, safety around home, and it's warm and welcoming, and the importance of lineage and the past and the roots are also important. So we bring in Jupiter into these themes. And there's more of an abundance of what's happening there. Growth through self-exploration, spiritual connection to the ancestry, the lineage, authentic connection that isn't rushed or pressured. And the shadow side can also be easily led astray or overprotective. So my favorite example is of Taylor Swift. If we just look at, not the whole chart, just Jupiter in Cancer, she has this signature, and the funniest thing about it, how this manifests, is that her nickname is the Mother. And so she's feminine, nurturing. She emphasizes in her songs awareness of emotions and the depth of those emotions. And I've noticed, I don't know if anybody else has noticed, she has this focus on childhood memories a lot in her songs. And I think at least every album has a song about high school in it. So, fun fact. And
And
if you want to take
just a note, I believe she's pregnant now.
oh my goodness.
And so Jupiter in Cancer return, she's pregnant and she's going to, the due date is Cancer, like June 2026. So
That's
I thought,
funny. I didn't even
yeah.
know. It's hard to believe what's real out there. So glad to know that that's happening. So this is her chart. If you want to, it hits her fourth chart. Fourth house. We'll look at that later. So looking back, since Jupiter is a 12-year cycle, we'll look back at 2013, and there were some uh, cancer themes going on. Immigration amendment, which was going to allow children of undocumented immigrants to be able to stay because they were born in the US. And then I don't know if anybody remembers about the Snowden issue, who he was a former intelligence contractor who leaked thousands of classified documents to expose this global mass surveillance that was happening in the US. And there was a debate. It opened the realization that yes, we want national security, but is it infringing on civil liberties? And so we see cancer themes, homeland security. Do we feel safe in our home? What is home for some people? And do they belong here? And all of that. So, okay, next slide. So now shifting into Jupiter in Leo, themes of manifestation and purpose. Because if in Cancer, if the sense of belonging is threatened or manipulated, then we can't trust. And if we don't trust, then we're going to withdraw. And in Leo, we can't withdraw. We have to go out and not hold back. So if you're interested in looking at, I know it's a little small, hopefully everyone can see it. The ingress, Jupiter going into Leo on June 30th, if you're interested in where all the planets will be at that moment. But I won't go through all of that because I'm going to go in the weeds if I do. So basically, to stick with the Leo themes, it's a fire element. So like we heard before when Sharri and Gonca, I think, were also talking about this, how we're going to be moving from this water to fire, also the earth to air. And fire enjoys creating, fantasizing, and this is also very Leo. It's active, expressive, directional. It's also fixed, and fixed energy helps us to power our destinies. We need production in order to create more resources and meaning. And so manifestation is part of the fixed nature in Leo. And these are the kind of people that don't mind putting in the extra work as long as it's admired and noticed. And also the archetypes are the hero, the savior, the king, the actor on the main stage. It's about celebrating life, enjoying luxury, art, distinctive style. And the difference from Cancer is that it's more future focused and looking towards. And with Jupiter there, it gives that great self-confidence, the need to create something meaningful that will touch people, larger scale planning, the conscious desire to lead, and hierarchy, productivity, strength, perceiving that life is worth living, love of luxury and pleasure. And the shadow can be pushing agenda on people or being too vain. Bill Gates has Jupiter in Leo, and it's in the second house next to Pluto. So, we can see that expansiveness of wealth and, he's the richest person in the world. But more than that, he brings that sense of, trying new things and bringing more to look at, to do, to work with. Now, if we look back at what happened in 2013, moving into 2014, kind of those themes, how did they pan out in a year? A year is a very quick time in general, but the immigration bill, there wasn't any backing, and so it fell through. And that kind of shows a little bit of Leo needing support. Leo needs support in order to move forward. And so if you don't have that in place, things can fall apart or not get a lot of popularity or backing. And the Snowden issue, yes, he was exiled. Of course, what he did, was very out, pushing the envelope there. But because of this, his legacy is now we use end-to-end encryption. So while this isn't a proper use of personal information, now it's available to us. So why don't we give it purpose, meaning? Why don't we do something with this? Why don't we just give it more, I'm looking for the word, structure around it, so with the transits coming up, there's three, major energies that are that I noticed, and obviously the water to fire. We've covered that. Now, this past month in November, so originally when Jupiter entered Cancer, that was that relief of water in the midst of fire, but then we got some other planets. We had a little preview of the Saturn, Neptune in Aries, and then they moved back into water. So we had more water this last month in November. So now when Jupiter enters Leo, we're going to be in that full fire. Like Saturn, Neptune will already be in fire. The stories maybe of November might come up again. And I like to look at it as different analogies here, different imagery of the first one, the water to fire. It's like an era of tea being steeped, and as it sits there, it's absorbing everything, and the color, the meaning, memory. And then now once the fire era comes in, it's fully steeped, it's ready to pour, serve, taste, live it out. It's a fire expression, and it moves to action. So now we can do something with it. Like what has been planted and seeded, what's going to come out of that? And then the Jupiter Pluto opposition, which is, I put it here, around, we'll see it and feel it May, July 2026. And to me, it kind of resembles the closet where you try to push everything in there, try to hide it, but then once you open it, it all just comes out. So, there is a lot of leadership that happens there, but also it can be misleading or too fanatical. Pluto can also break the glamour image of the big personality that everyone praises. And so what's really behind there and what will come out? And also the last one, Mars, Jupiter, which happens November next year, 2026. So we have a while, but I see it as an urge. It could come up as enterprise, joyful living, an urge for freedom, and its risk can also be a tendency to exaggerate or make hasty decisions. So making sure you have all the facts before making a decision is important. And it can resemble the thrill of a shopping trip where you're just so excited about all the things that are available and you buy all these things and then you get home and you're like, oh, I have to maybe return this stuff. And so thinking about these kinds of themes and shifts and what's coming up. And also Jupiter right now is the traditional ruler of the North Node. North Node representing what's unfamiliar, where are we being stretched? And this growth through faith, Cancer, Leo, and what have you welcomed in since last June? And how long or how will you bring more meaning to your life with what you welcomed in? How will you nurture it and create a legacy or meaning? And growth happens through faith, and the meaning matters more than comfort, and purpose becomes a guiding force. And sometimes we have to do that through risk taking. And the nodes are emphasizing the themes of employment and health and spirituality. And so how will those shift as well? And that will be interesting to see. Because also Jupiter will travel in the same sign as the South Node in Leo. So what are we clearing out and what is coming out of our comfort zones? So back to the examples of Taylor Swift and Bill Gates looking at the houses. So we saw that Taylor Swift had Jupiter in Cancer, and this is actually, we don't really know her house. We'll just pretend that we know. And it would be the third house, although it would be interesting to see what house it actually lands in, because it could have to do with marriage and all of that. But I took this from Dane Rudyard, and actually I have a better document that I can also send out to everybody because the 4th and 10th houses are a little chopped off. Let me see if I can scroll it. No, it's chopped off. And so following, this is the horizon, the first house, second house, what are these themes that are being shifted in your life right now? Is it going from the 8th to the 9th? And looking at Bill Gates, he has Jupiter in the second house. So the use of abilities and wealth and how he can further, maybe his personality or how he moves through the world with the resources that he has. And so how might it relate to you? Jupiter represents law of faith, expansion, and what about the self, your beliefs about yourself, or the mental health and physical protection against setbacks? Can you, if things aren't going your way, can you tolerate that? Are you protecting yourself? Is your home unique and individually expressed? Are your relationships nurturing you? And are you able to continue to create what you started in your career or what your personal aspirations are, what you want to give out into the world? And how you do these will evolve as Jupiter in Leo brings meaning, purpose, and connection to others, as well as legacy. So maybe some ideas on how to prepare. Knowing what you want is really important. Because if you know what you want, then you can have more direction and purpose towards going at a goal. And you can plant the seeds now while Jupiter is in Cancer to see what it develops into, what it's going to be created as, what you will push forward. Allowing this to be a foundational time, not necessarily forcing things, and letting go of old labels of yourself. Sometimes we are our own we prevent ourselves from expanding because we have limits that we put on ourselves. We don't believe in ourselves, or we don't allow ourselves to radiate. And so how can you shift that? This is a great opportunity to look inward. And one of my favorite quotes is one of my coaches says this: you don't rise to the occasion, you fall on your preparation. So the preparation is now, and this is a great time to start that. And in conclusion, if Jupiter in Cancer brought belonging, Jupiter in Leo seeks becoming. If Jupiter in Cancer blesses the womb, Jupiter in Leo blesses the heart. And if Jupiter in Cancer nurtures possibility, Jupiter in Leo manifests it. And if you would like to keep in touch, I would love to keep in touch with everybody. I'm very social. I'm an Aquarius. I just love to connect. So my website's here. I'm on Instagram, The Personable Coach. I'm also on Facebook as my name. And I'm teaching a beginner's astrology class, and we're going to use your chart as the method of learning. So we're going to get really deep in your chart, and it's going to be very exciting. So I hope you can join me. And for anyone who wants to continue reading, obviously Maurice's book is always a foundational tool for me, and combination of stellar influences and the astrological houses is where I got the more definitive information about the houses today, Dane Richard. Thank you.
All right. I love the connection between Jupiter in one sign and then how it unfolded, how the themes that started in Cancer, what happened when we moved into Leo, because it's not fragmented, right? There is some kind of thread between the two signs. So thank you. If you have any question, be sure to share. And otherwise, we're moving to Maurice Fernandez. So let me begin here, sharing my screen. Oops. So today, my focus will be on the Venus cycle. And this particular cycle coming up is very unique. So I'm going to unpack all that. Just to give you an introduction of my work, I'm going to go straight to what is coming up. Right now, there's a new educational program, the comprehensive diploma course that cycle 15 is starting. So you can find more information about that on my website. So what I find basically is quite often people interested in astrology have a lot of bits and pieces, but the difficulty is bringing it together. It's just synthesize. And many folks lack the confidence to really come up with a way to bring all the pieces together. So supervised chart readings help us get into this flow and learn both the depth and the height, how to bring this knowledge and do justice. Next year, we're going to be in Greece, August 12 to 18, during the solar eclipse in Leo. We talk about all this fire and Jupiter moving into fire. So there's this amazing celebratory event. You can check it out again on the website and find more details. So what do I want to focus on this time? On January 6th, we have a conjunction between Venus and the Sun, and that refers to as a star point. It's a concept developed by Ariel Gutman, and many folks are really bringing forth a lot of beautiful and deep information about this. These are some references. Ariel's book is always a good place to learn more about the Venus star point. And then Julia from the Cosmic Intelligence Agency has a lot of material on the Venus star point if you want to go deeper. So there's obviously a strong feminine theme with Venus, and Capricorn, you know, is Earth, as we know, and it is a sign that brings leadership as well as morality, ethics, accountability. So, in the context of what our crew here shared, we spoke about Jupiter, we spoke about Saturn, Neptune in particular, and they're still going to be in Pisces at the time of this conjunction. But what we have seen with Saturn, Neptune in the past year, 2025, but also since Saturn got into Pisces, you know, it's very archetypically connected to Neptune. We see how things are eroding, how structures are not as strong as they used to be, how leaders are not consistent. And there's a feeling like everybody can use the law as they wish. There's an erosion of the systems of checks and balances, which gives way to corruption, gives way to personal interpretations of the laws. So it becomes, you know, easily manipulated, easily used for personal gains and loopholes. And it seems with this Saturn Neptune that there's nobody to really fully rely on. And so when suddenly there is a very strong Capricornian energy with the Sun Venus at the heart of it, but you also notice that it coincides with the cycle of Venus Mars and Sun Mars. So it's a triple conjunction that happens on that very day, January 6th. But they stay together for a few days. So it's that whole week pretty much, leading into the second week of January. So I wonder if this will bring women, because of the Venus factor, women who will rise to leadership, who will be a voice of reason around the world. You know, it can be politically related, it can be, you know, personal business, it can be personal and global, all areas of our lives, really. And when I say a woman, it can be an actual woman. It can be someone who just represent Venus values of fairness, of accountability in Capricorn. So I see that as an important milestone in kind of a counter force or a complementing force to what Saturn, Neptune have been doing in de-solidifying everything, in eroding the rocks, dissolving boundaries, and creating this state of anarchy, chaos, lawlessness that we've been experiencing. So that's one argument, you know, one way to look at that. But I want to get more into the astronomy, you know, before I continue more deeply. The Venus star point is called that because every 9 months, 9.5 months or so, the Sun and Venus come together. And they come together one time as Venus is direct, and then 9.5 months later as Venus is retrograde, and then again when it's direct and retrograde. So from one direct conjunction to another is about 19 months. Here is what happens, the visual aspect of it. So we are now here at the point number 3. January 6, 2026, coming from the previous one in June 2024, and the one before that was October 2022. So about 18, 19 months later, you have these formations, these alignments between the Sun and Venus. And if you think about the Sun and Venus, you think about heart-centered energy. The Sun is the heart. Venus is about relationship and the need for one another, the ability to relate to one another. So there's a very strong, generous quality to this Sun-Venus fusion. And the beauty of it is that as Venus represents the beauty in form, the incarnation of spirit into flesh, and if we bring spirit into form, it looks beautiful. So it reflects the harmony of life, the sacred geometry that is in a flower, that is in nature everywhere. We also see that the pattern of the cycle is very symmetrical and creates this beautiful 5-pointed star pattern in the sky. And interestingly, the 5-pointed star takes 8 years to form, to go through the 5 conjunctions. And that represents 13 orbits of Venus. And if you look at these numbers, 8, 5, 5, 8, 13, these are Fibonacci sequence numbers that represents sacred geometry. So Venus in the sky brings that harmony and resonance to our senses. So that's the star for the Venus direct conjunctions. And there's another star that takes just as long and is happening in parallel with the conjunctions in retrograde. And you notice that it's pretty much the same signs, the retrogrades and the direct, but at different times and slightly different degrees. So now the conjunction in Capricorn is at 16 Capricorn, whereas the retrograde in Capricorn is 18 Capricorn, and that was 4 years ago. And you notice that in 2026, there will be another conjunction, retrograde, this time in Scorpio. So as Venus keeps meeting the Sun on these same point, pretty much, once it completes the 5 conjunctions, it returns to the Capricorn and the Aries and the Gemini and the Leo and Scorpio, but it moves about 2 degrees back. So the whole star every 8 years shifts in a retrograde motion every 8 years. So if you see that the next one is going to be in October 23rd, 2026 at 0 degrees Scorpio, once that 8-year cycle completes, it won't return to 0 Scorpio. It will go then to 28, 29 Libra, because it goes backwards 2 degrees. And so the whole star is now going to shift to 2 degrees back, which means that there's going to be, after this one, a shift from Scorpio to Libra. And then for a good 100 years or more, the star is going to repeat in Libra. The same will happen soon with the Aries leg of the star. It's coming to the very end of Aries, retrograding, and then it will shift into Pisces. So we're going to shift from Scorpio Aries, very Martian signs, to Libra Pisces, which are very Venusian signs, for better and worse. And so the imagery, you know, as I said, we have two pointed stars this year, 2026. The first one's going to be direct in Capricorn at 16. The second one is going to be in October, retrograde at 0 Scorpio. And the imagery, you know, for that, the illustration is kind of the shadow work, facing your own insecurities, your own emotions, and the things that maybe prevent you from moving forward. And this applies both on a personal and transpersonal level. So just a quick illustration of how this star actually looks in nature in the sky. This is the pattern that it creates. Like it is rose, five-pointed star, five-petal flower. This is a great link that, you know, gives you more insight into that. You can go to Earth, Sky, Astronomy, and see that dance happening. So the dance of Venus, the Sun, and the Earth. And yeah, so it's fantastic, and it's powerful also, not just visually, but also in its meaning. Back to our Capricorn activation. So what I want to highlight here, number one, look where that degree is in your chart. Do you have a planet there? Even if you don't, that point is going to be activated. And it's going to bring Venus Sun energy along with Venus Mars Sun energy that Mercury is going to join soon after. The personal planets move quickly, so we tend to forget about them. You know, it's fleeting. It's not like the Saturn and the Neptune, which are with us for a long time in a particular place. Here, it's a matter of a week, maximum 10 days, and it's gone. So it seems like it's not as important. And yet, these are seeding points. These are important activation, the same way that an eclipse happens, you know, in 10, 15, 20 minutes. The degree of the eclipse remains active for months, some would say years. It's kind of the same thing with a star point. Because it forms that pattern and it repeats, it goes back to the same area again and again and again over years, these become hot, activated Venusian degrees. So if you have a planet there, that planet becomes, during this whole period of time, it becomes infused with Venusian themes, which relate to financial development, financial transactions, embodiment, resource management, as well as the exchange of resources, the relational aspect of Venus. So Venus rules two signs. Taurus is what I have. Libra is what others have, what I need. And it has to do with that transaction between what I give and what I receive. And so it appears like they're very different, Libra and Taurus, but actually they are part of the same coin, two faces of the same coin. Now, what we can expect, especially as Mars is involved, is quite a bit of drama, you know, I will say. it is a reset point. It is a time of important decision. So in a personal life, it may be, as the new year moves in, you're making your resolutions and you're deciding to sell or to buy, or you're deciding to move, or you're deciding to restructure the way you make money. So how are you going to address your financial situations? What's your business plan for the year? This can be very strategic, classic Capricorn stuff. But it's not just going to happen because we're in Capricorn season. The fact that Venus, Mars, and the Sun are there means that there's going to be probably a more global influence, a trigger that will bring us to think about how we want to refinance, reprogram our approach to finances and then to relationships. So we talk about issues of integrity, restoring order, rectifying the sense of lawlessness. Will there be some kind of revelation about more corruption or bringing someone to justice, prosecution of abuse? Will there be a time where we are going to be also accountable in how we are spending our own money, and whether we've overspent or whether we need to, with Earth, there's always a sense of contraction. Tom spoke about Chiron in Taurus and how it led to a stock market crash in 29. And so when planets are in Earth signs, usually you're contracting. Usually you need to be more conservative. You're more careful, more strategic. You're taking less risks. So that can be just a personal assessment that you want to change your investments or use other stocks or be strategic about your astrology practice. It doesn't have to be scarcity, but it means you need to be smarter about your moves. So it's going to be interesting to track this and see what happens in real life. There are also, when Venus, Mars, and the Sun come together, there can also be important treaties, important moments where countries come together, leaders come together, whether it's a political leader or any kind of association, NGO. Important decisions are made and agreements are signed, and you kind of re-evaluate who are your allies and who's going to trade what with whom. So as we went through a year of upsets and changes with tariffs and increase in the price of everything, what is this going to lead to? Interestingly, this whole concussion and meeting of these personal planets happens to oppose Jupiter. Jupiter in Cancer, as Priscila mentioned, brings questions about safety, brings questions about, where do I belong and where do I want to live my life? So with Mars opposing Jupiter in this conjunction, will there be a question about moves, about relocation? This is the actual conjunction with Mars and Venus that happens just 3 days later. Mars and the Sun come together right after Venus and the Sun came together. So maybe that 19-degree Capricorn is as important. And as you see, it's getting really, really tight with the opposition to Jupiter. So to me, Jupiter reveals things. Jupiter can bring some kind of truth to the surface, which can also lead to disruptions in our family area. So as much as Jupiter in Cancer can bring safety and the need for safety, it also brings question about whether we are safe. And it brings questions also about whether we are ideologically, because Jupiter has to do with belief systems, whether we are ideologically agreeing with our family members. So this can be a time where there are disagreements, Mars, Jupiter. There are debates about what to do with the property, what to do with the real estate, what to do with where we want to live. One of the family member may want to move, the other one may not. There can be a lot of back and forth discussions about how do we move forward and what's the best strategy. So there can be economic upheaval, some kind of shift and change in the economic situation. And it may happen right then or soon after, right? These are seeding points that can lead to a wave gathering and accumulating. Treaties and wars. So as we form new alliances, we separate from other people. Who feels threatened? When we see Ukraine wanting to form alliance with Western Europe, and then this threatens Russia, you see how tension is created in relationships. In our relationship, not on a global level, but on a personal level, a lot of questions about what do we want in our relationship? How do we bring healthy boundaries? And are there questions of accountability? Are there questions about, the boundaries that were violated that need to be now rebuilt? So let's pay attention to that. Let's keep that in mind. Now, I just want to bring to your attention another thing I'm going to present. By the end of December, I have a Patreon program, and I'm going to offer a free session for Patreon subscribers to look at your Venus star point in your own chart. So we're going to have a more intimate discussion about how this may play out in your own chart, if that is interesting to you. Now, with eyes on the next star point, that is going to be in Scorpio, as I said, the last one in Scorpio, the retrograde one. Very powerful. Scorpio is always bringing important revelations, endings, and new beginnings. But importantly, it's going to actually square Pluto, the ruler of Scorpio. So that's one thing to consider. The next thing to consider is that, as Priscila was mentioning, Jupiter is in Leo, and for the whole end of the year, Jupiter is going to conjunct Mars in Leo, and they're going to be on the South Node. Why for so long? Because Mars is going to retrograde in Leo. So it's going back and forth over the Jupiter. They're going to dance together on the South Node. Now, if you notice, if you're involved in global things and global affairs, this is also very close to the US midterm elections, where a lot of things are decided, on American soil, but that has repercussions to, ripple effect on the rest of the world. So we see definitely a lot of fire and a lot of change. So the fire of Mars Jupiter is people speaking up. It's a need to take action, to be very involved, to find meaning in what I want to do. But with Venus, Sun in Scorpio square Pluto, there are, again, questions of integrity, questions of what is hidden and what is revealed. So I'm going to obviously unpack that more as the year goes by. I'm going to also present a video on the new year, but it gives you, you know, a preview into that time, remembering that this will bring some global shifts, some global drama. You know, these elections in the US are not going to be just, you know, inconsequential. There's a lot at stake. So just to look at previous times that we had this triple conjunction of Venus, Sun, Mars, this happens every 6.5 years, that a Venus-Mars conjunction coincides with the Sun. So the previous time was in 2019, which if you look at the historical of 2019, there were a lot of changes and protests and, you know, the pre-COVID times. In 2006 was the whole drama about the relationship between Pluto and the other dwarf planets, Pluto being demoted through Eris. And the year 2000 was an attempt for peace. So think about Venus, Sun, Mars, and you had the Israelis and the Palestinians coming to Camp David, trying to find a lasting solution, and it didn't work. And they, you know, they hit that kind of dead end, and that basically devolved into an intifada, into an uprising that was extremely deadly. And so what I'm trying to say is important things, important changes are happening during these triple conjunctions. So where is that in your life? Where is that 16 to 20 degrees, you know, in your life? And what do you need to recalibrate? Yeah. So just to, you know, we're coming to a close, a quick look at the cycle of Venus. It's retrograde when its conjunction is close to the Earth. And then it's direct when it's behind the Sun. So there are two conjunctions, the one retrograde and the one direct. A couple of figures who are famous for their Venus-Sun conjunction, you know, the immense charisma of Oprah Winfrey with a Sun-Venus in Aquarius. And then this is an interesting story of a fellow who saved the world, who was born with a Sun-Venus. What happened in 1984 was that Russian, you know, it was the heat of the peak of the Cold War, and Russians saw that in their radars, Americans were firing missiles towards Russia. And he was the one monitoring that and noticing that in the dead of night. And basically, this was the red alert. You know, if the Americans are attacking, we need to retaliate immediately. Otherwise, it's a nuclear devastation. So this man with the Sun-Venus conjunct Neptune had to make the decision whether to activate the red button and fight back and send missiles back to the United States. And he decided not to. He decided not to, which basically ended up a mistake in the charts and the radars and the actual information that was conveyed through technology. The technology was not accurate. And so the fact that he did not respond and held back prevented a nuclear war. So that's kind of the power of that Venus Sun coming into play. So thank you all. Thank you, speakers. Thank you, everyone, for hopefully some guidelines that will help us navigate these, these big currents together. Many blessings. Happy New Year. May we stay together and may astrology save the world. Just a quick note that we will be sharing the video with you, so you'll get a link through your emails. And you will have then the opportunity to unsubscribe if you don't want to receive more updates and be part of the mailing list. Great. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you so much, Maurice. It was an honor.
Yes, thank you so much, Maurice and everyone.
Blessings until next time.